Welcome back to another video, and today we'll be discussing my favorites and fails of Christmas makeup collections from 2024. So welcome back and happy 1st of December. That is the day that I am filming this. I am a bit of a, I'm a bit busy today and the upcoming days since I will be having a work trip at the beginning of the week, but luckily during Sundays I was able to make enough time to film today, so there's gonna be content also during next week, but most likely because the work trip is gonna take 2 days, this video is probably gonna be going out around Wednesday or Thursday. So about today's video, I thought that since I think now it's probably safe to say that we have had all the Christmas launches for this year, and oh boy, like I think we had the first makeup collections for this holiday leaking like already somewhere around, I think I saw first leaks around July, and then I told myself that I absolutely refuse to touch upon holiday makeup at least before we are on September. So I think already on September's one of my makeup news videos that I do on my channel in every 2 weeks time, there was already the first holiday collection, and then from September onwards, I think October was the month that most brands either announced and some already launched their stuff, and then from October onward, I don't think, for example, I from October onward have bought any other yeah, there's been some staple products that haven't been officially holiday related, but for example in terms of eyeshadow palettes and other stuff, I think most of it has been some kind of a holiday-esque launch. So yeah, I think that tells quite a lot about where the makeup market has been. But I thought that this would be fun to do, so I will be now, since we had all or most of the holiday launches, there could be that some indie brands might still be launching things at the beginning of December, but most of the stuff has now come out and has been announced. So this is gonna be sort of my personal take on what were my favorite collections from some makeup brands, and maybe then some not so favorite collections. And disclaimer as always, these are my personal opinions about these makeup collections. If you loved something that I will be saying was a fail for me, then that's okay, and it's a good thing that we have so much makeup today, so each of us can find something that we like. But also some of my favorites were not your favorites, then that's alright too. And then I think that another thing you should be aware of course, I haven't bought all of these collections, so if a collection was a favorite for me, but because I am someone who does this as a hobby, so I spend my own money to the makeup products that I own. I do get sometimes gifts from family and friends, but most of the stuff I have bought with my own money. So of course, even if a product here is a favorite, that didn't mean that I bought it, because honestly, if I would have bought all of these collections that I say that are my favorites, then I don't think I would be having money to all the necessities that I have to pay for. So that's just something to consider. But there is quite a lot of things that I did end up buying, or there's bits and pieces, because I usually, there's very rarely there's going to be a full-on collection that I want to get everything from, because I have already so much makeup, so I also don't have the need to necessarily buy everything. But from quite a few of these collections, there are individual items that I did get. But that's a long intro. Let's now get to the collections that I want to discuss about, and as always you will be seeing images over here of the collections that I discuss, and with the collections that I have gotten something, I will then discuss that what did I end up getting. So let's get my phone out so I will have the images. So first one is would categorize this as a, how should I say, this palette has gotten a bit mixed reviews, and I personally haven't tried this palette because this is actually something that went on my wish list from family and friends to buy, so we shall see that will I end up getting this one. But I still would categorize as something that stood out from all the holiday collections was Natasha Denona's Roxa palette. So this is something that she officially has said that is holiday collection, so there has been a few launches from brands that they haven't said that are specifically their holiday launches, so then it's obviously not included. But this one, even though it's full on purple and pink, and maybe the scene overall doesn't seem like traditional Christmas holiday makeup collection, this was officially a holiday collection. This is a limited edition palette, so that's also something to consider if you're still thinking about getting this one. But despite the fact that this has gotten some mixed reviews in terms especially about the shimmer formula, I do still think that because this stands out quite well from, let's just say, the plethora of usually what we see during Christmas, especially from high-end brands, which Natasha Denona is, because usually the high-end brands, they do this sort of brown, red and burgundy has been actually a popular color this year, but usually it's like brown, gold, silver, and then maybe a pop of color. But this, I think, truly stands out, and that is why I categorized this as a sort of favorite, even though as I said, I would have to actually try this myself to determine that how I stand with the formulation. But I would say that for anyone, if you're someone who has a color lover in your family, or and if they prefer these purple and pink colors, I do also know that because people were expecting more blue toned purples, that this doesn't actually have a lot from, and then we have these couple of reddish shades that are showing quite a lot of people off. I do still think that because there were some pinks and reds in this one, it actually brings some diversity to the palette. But this was a favorite for me, even though it has got a mixed reviews, and I obviously don't have this palette, but I do still think that this was a favorite because it stood out. Then a very Christmassy collection. I have actually review or parts of the stuff that came out with this collection from my channel. So P. Louise's holiday collection this year was definitely a favorite for me, and this was a favorite first of all because this was this like very on-brand Christmas-esque. Like you can see from like kilometers away that this is obviously a holiday collection. It has it has the pink that P. Louise does, but there's like red and white bows, there's some gold, and like all the stuff is just very holiday-esque. P. Louise did a lot, and obviously I didn't get everything from this because that would have been like very expensive, and also I just don't like, there were also some products that I didn't feel that I liked. But I did end up getting the Sweet Escape, the big palette that had like, it was like a full-on, there's an eyeshadow layer there, then you have full-on like face shades, there's like cream bronzers, there's blush, and there's highlighters. And also then I ended up getting one of the Christmas cracker gift sets in the red version, and within that set there was a eyeshadow palette, and then there were some other items. And I do have to give them credit that aside from the packaging being very like on-brand Christmas-esque, I do think also that the product quality, like there was like very few products that I didn't like. I think there was with the Christmas cracker gifts that I did discuss that one of the lip glosses that came with it wasn't such a favorite because of the way it was packaged, but the product quality also was quite good because with P. Louise it has previously been that the packaging, they really put effort in the packaging, but sometimes the products inside have been maybe a bit mediocre, but this time I do think also that the products, like the makeup quality, was also pretty good. So I think, as always, this brand is geared more towards maybe teenagers, preteens, and young adults, but I do still think that if you are someone who has maybe similar makeup preferences that I do, and you kind of enjoy this kind of a packaging and vibe, I would like to say that this is a good Christmas collection to look into. Then another favorite, and this goes to categories of favorite that I didn't get but I can admire from afar. So I do think that Suku this year, they very like killed it like in terms of their holiday collection. And while I do think that the color stories in the eye, and I believe these are technically eye and face palettes because the big shade might be something that is meant to be maybe a face highlighter or something. But I think that while we have maybe seen quite a lot of these color stories that Suku has done with these like palettes, and then maybe with the blushes also and lip colors, that these aren't necessarily anything unique, but I do think just the way that Suku executed this collection, it's very like, if you're especially looking something very giftable to someone who likes this sort of traditional luxury makeup, then I would say that these are very giftable. And because the color stories aren't like anything still super bright and punchy, I do think there's quite a lot of people who would enjoy these products. But yeah, this was, in terms of like a packaging and just how this I think was curated, a very successful holiday collection, and as I said, not something that I need and something that I definitely didn't get, but for example, this is something that if I would be like having a lot of money for some reason, then I would maybe like give this to a couple of people in my life who I know that like this more sort of everyday easy makeup. Okay, then the first fail of this video. So I think Charlotte Tilbury kind of dropped the ball this year with her holiday launches, because I feel that we got a lot of items that we have seen like in previous years, because these sets of different kind of like these gift sets that have her like staple line product. We have seen these on several Christmases before. The eyeshadow palette was a similar 9-pan that she did before, but I think this was actually maybe a bit worse than the palette last year, because this actually was a very mid-tone. I watched several reviews and swatches of this one, and unfortunately, aside from maybe one deeper shade that you can see in the middle of the palette, this really looked like a quite basic mid-tone palette that even within, I think, Charlotte Tilbury's line was very repetitive. She also did bring back the individual shimmer shadows, but I do think that these are pretty bad value. I think you can get good individual shimmer shadows at a lesser price from quite a lot of brands. And yeah, and also these shimmer shadows, these were again a item that she brought back. So for me, this just felt like that, yeah, great, but we have seen this like before from her like a dozen times over. So this was a fail from the holiday collections that I spotted from this year. And yeah, maybe we hope maybe next year she's gonna maybe bring out maybe some genuinely new products during the holidays. Another fail was Pat McGrath's holiday collection this year. First of all, she didn't bring a new mothership. However, if the new mothership would have again included just another pink assortment of pink eyeshadows, then maybe it's good that she didn't really come out with new. But I just feel that I mean, the couple of, like, I'd say that if I would have to pick what were my sort of like individual products that I'm considered that I might get if there was a very steep discount on offer, then maybe the couple of queens that she launched. But for example, the big eyeshadow palette, like this was, I was looking at this and thinking that, yeah, some of the bigger eyeshadow palettes on previous holidays have been more exciting than this one. Because if you like cover a few of the very colorful, if you cover the dark blue, the lilac, and the sort of emerald green, or is it a turquoise green, this is a very basic warm tone like palette that we have seen from her quite many times before. And it's just there were a couple of these shimmer eye duos. I felt that the eye duos were the worst in terms of price versus what product you're getting. And then we had like a couple of lip sets, but the lip products inside the lip sets weren't anything new. So I think just like with Charlotte Tilbury, I really wish that Pat McGrath, maybe next year they will come out with something that genuinely would be like something different and something exciting, because Pat McGrath has definitely been in previous years one of those brands that I, for example, have looked forward to what she comes out during the Christmas, and I have actually liked some of the big palettes she came out in previous years, but this year's collection, this felt like that I was looking at it and thinking that, yeah, this is again with that something that we have seen dozens times over. Okay, this is probably gonna be dividing a bit of people, but for me, a third fail. And by the way, if you're thinking that did I somehow arrange these in any kind of order? No, so it might be that it would have been better maybe if I would have seen that could we maybe trickle down the favorites and fail, but now apparently we're having the third fail. So Hourglass's face palettes, and I remember talking in my makeup news video that if you don't have any Hourglass cheek products on your in your collection, then these are great value, and then I would actually buy one of these face palettes. However, I do know that a lot of people have collected these face palettes during the years, and if you are especially a collector of the brand, I don't think, even though technically there might be new shades included, those still might not actually be anything that different from if you particularly have a lot of Hourglass's face products. Also something I was like, this is of course a very subjective thing, but I didn't feel that the packaging in these was particularly holiday-esque. Well, you can argue also that the animal packaging last year weren't too holiday-esque, but for me, for some reason, I thought spring when I saw the packaging of these. So I do think the brand has gotten now better, that there's a tree variation, and there's clearly, like, you can see that there's clearly a variation that's suited for more deeper skin tones than one for medium skin tones and one for lighter skin tones. So they have improved, because some years there was the issue that they came out with maybe 2 or even 1 palette and basically only for skin tone people could use them. So they have improved, but for me, I think that like, I maybe wish that Hourglass would maybe consider, like, again, just like maybe with a couple of other brands that I spoke before, that maybe they could do something else during Christmas time than these face palettes, because while these are good value if you're someone who doesn't have them, but I do think that quite a lot of those people who especially like to pay hourglass prices for their makeup, they already have this. So this was another fail. Okay, so now we're getting back to like favorites. So I do think that the Prada holiday collection this year, this was a very, and I actually do appreciate that these luxury brands actually did very well curated small Christmas collections, which I do actually like rather than having a collection that has multiple of different items. So this basically had 2 lipsticks, a lip balm, and I do believe is that categorized as a quad, yeah, because there's 4 shades. This wasn't like you could say that, yeah, this wasn't anything extraordinary, especially the eyeshadow quad in terms of like color story, but I do actually like the eyeshadow quad's combination of having this very deep burgundy, and then there's this a pinkish reddish shimmer shade, and then we have a silver and a gold. And I do also think the lipstick shades, one of them is a more nuder pink and one of them is a deeper red. I do think that this was a small, and especially considering who Prada Beauty like target customer is, I have understood that this is actually sold out in quite many places, and I can understand like quite well why. Unfortunately, this wasn't available. Like, I could order Prada Beauty through Look Fantastic, they actually stocked them, but I never saw this collection becoming available for our country to order from the website, so unfortunately, it's a bit 50-50 that if this would have been accessible to me, would have actually like paid the prices, because this isn't also cheap brand to buy from. So we will never know now, but I do think this was one of the like better high-end collection, and I especially like that how like curated this was and how they chose a couple of individual items for this collection. So another like success, I do think both of Dior's mainline and backstage collections were a hit, and it tells quite a lot, for example, that I actually ended up buying from both of these collections. So I ended up getting the eyeshadow palettes from both the backstage line, and then from the main line I got the sort of burgundy golden leaning one. And what else did I get? Actually think I only got the eyeshadow palettes. I maybe was considering at one point would I get one of the lip products, one of the liquid lipsticks. These are now available in our department store. I'm still maybe considering that would I want to get one of the liquid lipsticks from mainline, but I do like the way that the main, like how they do, clearly I think they made some design choice in the fact that the backstage line was maybe more of this sort of icy winter themed holiday collection, and then the main line was this more sort of a traditional holiday collection where you had this sort of golden packaging with these more maybe traditional like reddish tones in it. And I do also have to give the mainline's collection credit from the fact that the eyeshadow palettes were distinctively different. I know some years there might have not been that much difference in them, but there was actually like a choice that you could get the reddish burgundy one or the more purpley leaning one. So you could actually get both of the palettes without getting to like many repetitive shades. But overall I do think that Dior killed it this year, and I do know that these have been quite popular items generally based on this just amount of how many people actually ended up getting these, for example, from the people I follow on social media channels. And only I do have to say that this was quite of a big collection, so maybe they could have maybe cut back with the items, maybe a couple of less lip shades would have been like a more manageable. I do think that with the backstage line I again did like that they had 3 clear like products. There was one of the lip glosses, lip maximizers I think are the name of those. Then they had the highlighter quads. I know the highlighter quads are quite popular with some people, and then they had an eyeshadow palette. The main line did have maybe like a couple of items I think they could have maybe cut back from, but still I do think that in the end this was a very good choice from them from both lines. So another favorite collection that I also got something from, so Anastasia Beverly Hills, this holiday collection this year, I do think it was a hit. I also again will give them credit, they had a couple of items in this one, 2 eyeshadow palettes, 3 new shades to their liquid lipsticks, which are popular. This is quite smart for them to extend a product line that they know that is popular amongst their customers. And 2 new highlighters. The highlighters are the only thing else I would kind of went like that, yeah, but I can't tell the difference from the highlighter shades that they have those before, but I also do know that the highlighter formula has gotten quite a lot of credit. I got the brown eyeshadow palette, so it was the spice version. I was kind of also thinking that would I get the sugar one, because I especially thought that the eyeshadow palette quality was quite improved from the Fall Romance palette, for example, that I tried a year ago from the brand. So the quality within these palettes, I think there's definitely been an upgrade. There are some nice beautiful shimmers, and spoiler alert, I will be filming my holiday palette video recommendation after this one, though I think I might actually post it before. But anyway, that's the spice palette is going to be included in that one. But truly, I think this was again one of the better collection. There was like a clear curation of items, and I do think all the items like fitted together within the collection. Then a few fails. So unfortunately, I do have to say that the Essence's Xmas Kisses collection, this was a fail, and with Essence especially, I have now like noted that they really, like, for a makeup brand, their collections include a lot of this sort of merch that isn't makeup, and that is maybe not, like, I can get like a couple of like fun items that aren't makeup related, but with this one, because while I do think that the like white and golden packaging, and you do have to consider when you're looking at the packaging that this is a very inexpensive drugstore brand, so you can't have very high expectations, but while the color choices of this one is very Christmas-esque, but when you start looking at the items that what were makeup, there was the sort of face, like blush lighter, cheek product, then you had I think maybe a liquid lipstick and then a lip balm, but then all the other products were like some kind of like, there was like a some hair items, then you had some stickers, and yeah. So unfortunately this was a fail for me in terms of the fact that I had very hard time seeing makeup within this collection. For example, when you compare this to the Catrice holiday collection that Catrice launched, I think it was an okay holiday. The Catrice collection is not in this video because I think it was just like okay, but at least the Catrice collection, there was one merch item, and that was a headband that was actually pretty nice looking headband, but it was like majority of makeup. With this one I'm having difficult time finding the makeup, so that is why this is a fail. And now, unfortunately, another drugstore fail was Kiko Milano's holiday collection this year. First of all, based on what I've seen, the eyeshadow palette, it was pretty muted, and I think pretty, how should I say, like Kiko does a lot of repetition and recycling with their color stories, but I think even for Kiko the eyeshadow palette was quite, the bigger eyeshadow palette was quite dull. Also something that also wasn't a favorite for me in this collection was that I was looking at the shimmer eyeshadow trios also that came within this collection, but those were very expensive for 3 eyeshadows at a sort of Kiko's prices, so the eyeshadow trios were all 20 euros, and I was thinking that I'm not gonna be paying over 20 euros for 3 shimmery Kiko eyeshadows, because while the quality is good, it's still not like worth over 20 euros for just 3 shadows. Also, apparently the blushes in this collection, which look to have a very beautiful ombre effect, apparently there's an overspray in this one, which is something that I think we learned from the MAC Cherry Blossom collection, that the makeup community is very picky about the fact that if you're using oversprays in your collection, that is in your products, that is not a good thing. And yeah, and overall I do have to say that aside from like the products, like I can like do with Kiko, I can to certain point I can like tolerate the fact that they do recycle some products, but this just because sometimes their Christmas collection have been very like good, and they have been collections that I would actually recommend from if you're looking for good Christmas collection from drugstore, but this year I think the Kiko's collections, it just sort of fell short, at least for me. Then something for the, I think, especially US customers that I do think was a favorite for me. Of course, I haven't been able to try this one, so this is just something that I'm evaluating just based on how this has been looking and what I have seen. So Colourpop came out with the Frosty the Snowman collection. This is apparently a popular cartoon in US. We just have a Christmas song about this thing, but it's, how should I say, it's not a cartoon thing in our country. And I do think Colourpop very much succeeded in matching the sort of products with this theme. They had a very sort of cool tone leaning eyeshadow palette that had like pastel shades, but there were also some deepening up shades. I do think that the lip product that were included in this one also fitted the collection, and also the jelly eyeshadows and then the Super Shock highlighters, and I do actually think that the makeup sponge was also kind of a fun thing. I have seen that the eyeshadow palette hasn't gotten that good reviews in terms of the quality, but I do think that it's just in purely that how this collection fits, for example, the IP that is done with. I do think this is one of the better ones, and Colourpop, especially if you live in US, I do think that this is a good brand. Usually their products have been like good quality just for like sort of anyone looking to try out new makeup, but especially for someone who is starting in makeup, this is a good brand that you know that you will get quality makeup, but the price isn't too expensive. So this was, at least in terms of the IP fitting the sort of whole IP versus how this was executed, was definitely a favorite. So then a maybe surprising favorite, and again this is a product that I haven't been able to try, and I'm not sure it's something that's gonna be even available in Europe. So in Europe we have Monolith Shop that usually stocks these sort of indie brands, so I'm a bit unsure still that is this something that I would even be able to get. But I did discuss this in my makeup news video, that this was the first DD signature palette that made me look like that, wow, okay, the brand has truly stepped it up. So they came out with the Fearless Holiday palette, and considering that my makeup preferences this year have been leaning towards maybe the more neutral eyeshadow palettes, it's quite surprising how many times I've been now looking at this palette thinking that yeah, I would really like that one, and it doesn't even have to like usually maybe the more like mid-tone and pastel leading colorful tones, but this actually has it's a palette full of jewel tones, and usually jewel tones are okay for me if they're in the palette as a deepening up shade, but as a sort of palette just having jewel tones, it's a bit strange how much this palette is appealing to me. But I will give them credit for the fact that I can see Christmas in this palette, but it is still quite like different from what we traditionally maybe see from Christmas launches. And yeah, also the fact that I'm gonna also give them extra points for the fact that it seems that this packaging is, I think, truly an upgrade to what we have seen from DD's signature before. And yeah, as I said, if you live in Europe, I don't know if this is gonna become available on Monolith Shop especially. They actually did announce now their launch date, and previously they had said that it would be the 8th of December, but apparently they have now pushed it back to 13th of December. I'm a bit bummed about that one because if you live in Middle Europe, then you probably will be able, oh sorry, not middle, it's Central Europe, yeah. If you live in Central Europe, I do think the 13th of December, that's like plenty of enough time to stuff to like come to you, but the rest of us who don't live in Central Europe, it's gonna be pretty tight now depending how quickly they're able to ship things. That is the stuff gonna make it to you to Christmas, because most shipping companies, the stuff doesn't move during weekends. So if you count the weekends in between, there's like only one full week before the Christmas week, and the Christmas is this year, it's 24th and 25th, so those are like, I think those are Tuesday and Wednesday this year. So yeah, I am a bit concerned. I do understand that Monolith maybe wanted to push the December launch date so they can get all the products into their like warehouses, but I'm still like thinking that yeah, but for those of us who don't live in Central Europe, that means that we might or we might not be able to get our stuff before Christmas, so we shall see. And then for another holiday collection that was definitely a favorite in terms of how this was executed, even though I'm a bit 50-50, that this palette has actually gone to my holiday wishlist. So I did the decision that I'm not gonna spend my own money to this palette, but the palette went to my Christmas wishlist. So Cosmic Brushes announced their holiday collection, and yeah, the palette is called this the Season palette, and aside from the palette, they are now doing more products than just eyeshadows. There's 2 bullet lipsticks and 2 cream blushes, and I do just think that overall how this is designed, like this is truly like what you would, it's a colorful Christmas theme, but you can clearly see that it's a Christmas palette. So we have some reds, there's some greens, the random row of purples, that's a bit like meh, but then we have also a row of more neutral shades, and then we have a very traditional red lipsticks, there's a more orangey leading, like a more neutral toned lipstick, and then there's like a pinker blush shade, and then this more like orangey blush shade. But I just think that overall this is a very collection that screams Christmas for me, and I'm especially, because I'm a person who likes this very on your nose Christmas packaging, I can appreciate this one. So we shall see that if I'm gonna get that, will I get this palette as a Christmas gift, but because it is a bit colorful, and I do have to say, I immediately, when I saw the palette, I was like, yeah, that's great, but I do have the Odensai holiday palettes from a couple of years ago, and even though the colors aren't like exactly matching, because for example the red row apparently in this one it's a more raspberry pink leaning reds rather than these sort of like true reds, but within the Odensai palettes from a couple of years ago, especially if you got the both of them, their other palette was basically red and green, and then the other one was a cool tone palette that there were also some purples in it. Maybe something this doesn't have is that the Cosmic Process palette doesn't have blues in it, but I was kind of thinking that I have something similar in my collection, so that is why I made the decision to put this on my wish list for other people to get me rather than spend my own money on it, but we shall see what the Santa will be bringing to me on the Christmas Eve. But yeah, but overall as a collection this was I think success from them. Okay, then a sort of holiday collection that I also will put on my favorites, because I do think that again this brand succeeded in making a small curated holiday collection. So the YSL holiday collection this year, they basically had a eyeshadow quad, and then they had 3 of their candy gloss lip sticks, I believe, were in this line, and then of course they did their perfumes in a limited edition packaging. I do know that this fishnet design, not everyone was a fan of it, but I actually like this design of combining gold and white packaging together. I actually ended up caving in during Black Friday and actually got the Queen quad, and you can now shame me as much as you want, because we all know that the quad had the most beautiful embossing in it that you will be seeing in the picture, but the embossing is gonna disappear the minute I'm gonna be doing my swatches. I still haven't done the swatches and I'm filming this. Probably when you will be seeing this video, the swatch video is gonna be, it's gonna be a short, it's gonna be on my channel already, but the embossings in the pans are gonna disappear, and it's essentially a like gold neutral quad. I have these like tones doesn't over my, but I was doing Black Friday shopping in my department store, and the YSL counter person was very friendly, and I do have to say I did get the most, like, I got the most generous samples. I got the Candy Gloss lip gloss, I got one of the Candy Gloss lip balms or lip glosses, and then she actually gave me like 2 big samples of her YSL mascara, so yeah, that was maybe a purchase that could also have been skipped, but I now have this one, and I do have to say I am a happy owner of this quad. Even you can argue that hey, you already have this one, and now I will be actually able to try, because I know a lot of people have been talking quite a lot of good things about this YSL quad formula that they're now doing, so we shall see now that is it as creamy and as effortless as people are making it sound to be. But just also as a collection, like, I can appreciate this one. I think the packaging and the couple of like carefully chosen products that they did for this one, this was a very, very good thing. Are we on the last one? Yeah. So these are holiday items that I do have, but because of time constraints, I haven't still tried these out. These are going to be going to my rotation. I think I will be rotating my makeup next weekend, so then I'll be trying out this. But I will be putting these in the favorites with the caveat that I still have to try these out in terms of the fact that was the formula better than with the holiday palettes last year. That was a complete disaster. So Odensai did what they have done during a couple of last years, which is that they released 2 limited edition holiday palettes. And we all know that I absolutely loved the holiday palettes from a couple of years ago. The holiday palettes last year were crap. I don't know what happened with the formula, but the shimmers and mattes, I've never tried anything that bad quality from Odensai. But because then I saw these holiday palettes and I was like thinking that dang, they did it again. They managed to actually make color stories that are interesting, that are quite different from what the brand has done, and also just how the color stories are created. And these are again stand out from, I think, from the many of holiday palettes that we have seen that lean a lot to the sort of neutral gold silver leaning direction. So these also kind of stood out as on their own. I have swatched these swatches. You shouldn't really make a lot of conclusion based on swatches, but at least the matte formula seems to be like a bit better than the palette last year. I still haven't tried that on my eyes. The shimmer formulas you can clearly see that I haven't bought Odensai this year, because the shimmer formulas definitely feel a bit different, because what is the latest palette that I have from them that is still in my collection? It's the I'm blanking. It's the Gemtone collection. I'm gonna put the name, but it was the Gemtone collection where they launched 2 of these gemstone related palettes. Not this autumn, but the autumn before that one, and I got the one that has the sort of like neutral mauve leaning one. Yeah, I'll be putting up the name because I'm blanking right now. So considering that it's been actually, and then I of course bought the holiday palette last year, but because the quality of those one was so bad, I ended up decluttering those. So those have been long gone. Oh, but wait, the Angie's. No, of course, no, the newest ones, you can clearly see that I really need to do some decluttering because I'm losing track of what I have in my collection. So the newest palettes that I have from them, it's not the Gemstone collection palette, but it is Angie's Halloween collection from last fall, yeah. And compared to the formulas in those Halloween palettes from fall a year ago, I did feel that the shimmer formulas, at least from swatching, they are a bit different. They're almost like a bit creamy, which of course is always a concern for me, that if there's a particular creamy eyeshadow formula, how is that gonna deal with my oily leaning lids, but we shall see. And I'm not gonna make too many judgments based on the hand swatches. But in terms of the color story and how Evidence Eye yet again managed to do something that stood out, that doesn't look like something that they have launched before, this is gonna go to the favorites, but with the like disclaimer that I can't still tell that if the formula was good. The palettes will be included in a palette review video. I will try to do one more collective eyeshadow palette review video for this year, so you will be hearing my opinion about these ones. I've actually had enough time to try this, but at least based on the color stories and how this was executed in terms of packaging and everything, this was a favorite. So that was my sort of thoughts about the holiday collection this year. I would be very interested to know, since as I said, we have been having holiday collections from September onward, what were your sort of favorites and fails in terms of holiday makeup items, or did you skip completely out of holiday makeup? Because I do know that not for everyone these Christmas collections aren't favorites, so also tell about that in the comments. If you like this video, push the like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell button so you can get notifications from my future content. You can also find me with the same nickname, Makeup Hedgehog, on Instagram. I hope you'll see you again soon in the video. Bye bye!